Hey everybody, welcome to the Herd Fit Podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the Herd Fit Podcast. I am Coach David Syvertsen. I'm here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee, and we have one of the most famous people and most important people in CrossFit space right now because of huge news that just dropped a few days ago. And we have on the director of the co-director of the Legends Championship, but also the co-director of the new CrossFit Masters Games, Joe Linton, coming in with us from California. Joe, what's up, man?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Thanks for having me on. It's always fun to chat with you guys.
Repeat guest. We had him sitting between us just a few months ago talking about the 2023 Legends Championship, and that was awesome to see him come out there and show us his support. And we're going to try to just get some information out because there's a lot of questions. I'm going to read through some of the ones that I found on social media, which I would advise you to stay away from as best you can. Let me filter that for you because there's a lot of dumb questions on there too. But the news just dropped that we have the date and location for the 2024 Masters CrossFit Games. And we already knew that you guys were going to be running the show with CrossFit support and CrossFit's backing, but this is still going to be Bob and Joe's show and your staff. And how long was this under wraps? Because there were rumors that this was going to be right after the CrossFit Games. We knew that it couldn't go too deep into the fall. When did you guys really kind of sign, seal, deliver that it was going to be in Birmingham, Alabama, August 29th to September 1st?
Last Sunday,
at least just a few days ago.
Yeah, last Sunday is when the contract was signed, and we immediately let CrossFit know so we can get in touch with their media team, plan the announcement, and get everything set up. So I think it was 3 days after.
Okay. All right, that's quick turnaround.
It was officially announced, which was needed. We really wanted to get that information out so that people can plan the year and get ready for it. And we're super exciting to finally get that announced officially and get the contract signed. So with that, we know the space we're in, we know the dates that we have, and we can really start to get to the logistics of planning.
Can I ask did it come down to a Final Four, top three? Was Birmingham?
I thought there was a second place you were thinking about. Orlando, I heard last month. Is that true?
Yeah, we were trying to get with Orlando. I want to say that the original dates we wanted was the week before. So we wanted to be 1 week before teenagers, and I believe it would then be 2 weeks after the pros games. And that didn't work out. So Orlando, they had a possibility of availability, but they kind of ghosted us, I want to say. I think another big, huge event that took on more space came in and swept up the whole thing.
Okay.
That's what I think happened. So
okay.
It didn't work out. We were trying California as well. That kind of got really difficult just because convention centers in California, the cost is insane. So we're like, God, we can set up an outdoor thing, maybe half and half. But then soccer took everything right away. So, you really need more than just a year or 8 months, 6 months to sign a convention center or a place the size that we need.
Got it.
So we're already planning for next year. So
I mean, it's great that you guys have. I think one of the reasons why you guys were given this responsibility is you have experience negotiating with cities and different locations and scouting locations, and you truly do know what's needed, right? I think that's a really important variable for everyone to know, how you guys know what is truly needed to run a good operation, which is going to be, in terms of volume of athletes, the biggest event when you're talking about the games. Teens and the pros have a fraction of the amount of people that you guys are going to be dealing with because the amount of age groups and the increase in the amount of people that are competing. So there's a lot of variables that go into this that I think a lot of people are unaware of. How much does that really weigh into scouting locations and what you guys had to really find?
Oh man, it is honestly probably the most important thing. We need the space, right? To get through and to make this a true games test. Like you guys know Legends, and the space we take up is probably less than 50% of the space that we're looking for the Masters games.
Okay.
We need three fields of play going on the entire time.
Wow.
And each field needs to be 20 lanes. And that's to make sure that, one, we hit the mark on getting a true games test. So that means something that Legends kind of has always missed, and that we're actually gonna fix this year. But
Awesome.
through some creativity is a longer test. You know, something that's 20, 25 minutes plus. So that'll be present at the Masters games. And with that, you need time and space. So your location needs, to be 100,000 square feet plus, just to get your 3 fields of play, plus a warm-up area, plus an athlete village area. Then you got to take into account vendor village and where people are going to eat and sit. And so it's got to be big.
Is this going to be at the Birmingham Crossplex, which is like 750,000 square feet?
Man, it's BJCC. I'm blanking on the what actually. I don't think it's the Crossplex. I don't think that's it.
Got it. How accessible?
Could be wrong, but it's at. Go ahead.
How accessible is it for just travel? You have a lot of international athletes coming in. Like, is it easy to get to? What's the lodging like in the area with hotels and to some? I mean, this is not as important, but for spectators and restaurants, how is it easy to get to Birmingham internationally?
It's easy in a sense of, like, you can fly straight into Atlanta, which is the busiest airport in the world, I believe.
Okay.
Then it's a easy, straight shot 2-hour drive from Atlanta to Birmingham. If you want to jump on a commuter flight, you can get straight into Birmingham, but it's much like, I want to say it's like Madison. It's not like you can fly direct into Madison with every airline. You gotta jump on a little commuter flight from somewhere. But it's easy to get to. Now the convention center is right next to 2 major hotels, the Westin and the Sheraton, which we're working on deals with them to secure room blocks and everything already. And that kind of sandwiches the convention center. Downtown area, I haven't been, but I heard that there's a really cool street that has some kind of like a very mom and pop downtown Madison-esque or small town feel that, we're going to start working with to kind of, spread out the event from itself into the streets so that it feels like a full festival, kind of like Wadapalooza, kind of like the games in Madison type of feel. It's going to be, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by how welcoming Birmingham is to the CrossFit community.
It's the Birmingham Jefferson Convention Complex.
Yes.
And that's 220,000 square feet of exhibit halls, meeting space, ballrooms, has 4 entertainment venues, stadium, arena, concert hall, and theater. And then you mentioned the Sheraton and the Westin Birmingham. It's basically downtown Birmingham.
Yeah.
Now that you guys have this locked in, what's the next stage for you guys as event organizers? Is it all in on programming? Because that's going to be a big part of year one for this. And I hope everyone knows this, that you guys deserve a multiple year shot at this. You guys are ready. There's no question. I'm sure that there are going to be some subtle and maybe even some major differences between this and running Legends, that there's no question you guys deserve multiple years at this. What is your plan as organizers at this point, now that you have one of the more complex things already figured out?
So it's a good question. So programming, you can kind of program most of it without knowing exactly where you are. I mean, if you're dedicated to the space that you want,
right,
you can start programming that right away. And then you leave a little, you leave some space or some wiggle room to make some edits, to make some enhancements, if you will, based on where you're going to be. And, can you be outside? Do you have to be full inside? Is it close to a pool? Is it close to an open water type setting? So you leave some space in there for that. On logistics side, now it's like we can finally get cracking on logistics, which we have more than enough time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like securing heavy machinery for setup, breakdown, getting this information to sponsors, which is important, to make sure that they've kind of secured the dates that we told them, but we weren't able to tell them where we were. And so now it's like they can start signing contracts and start really getting involved in the planning for them, which is a big deal. Then programming, that was the most important, kind of the most important thing right now. We're working along with Boz and his team, which has been awesome.
That's awesome.
Both for it's super cool. If you like programming, kind of nerd out on it, and then knowing that you got Rogue equipment, Rogue Fitness as your equipment sponsor.
Yep.
You're going to get what you want, and it really opens up a lot of opportunities to, test the athletes in harder, funner, more exciting ways.
Yeah.
Working with Boz and his team has been a really
pinch me moment.
Really cool experience.
In January, you said you had finished your third draft of your programming and you were about to send it to Boz. Mm-hmm. But you said you go through 10 to 15 drafts before you're totally done with it. How far are you?
Yeah. So it's cool. So the 10 to 15, what we learned, Bob and I, so the 10 to 15 drafts is we do that on paper and we kind of talk through it and it comes out really well. And Boz and his team, they showed us a much more scientific and, built out method to view your programming and kind of where it lies on, what movement is prescribed. What'd you write out? What movement did you write out? And then where does it fall in the workout? And how many times are you using a gymnastics movement? How many times are you using a single modality? How many times are you using a weightlifting? And then they really show you data. And we're like, oh, this is going to be so much faster.
That's so cool.
Because we get to that point, it just takes so much longer. And we're like, wow, I think this is going to cut the need for edits in half. So right now we're only at 5, and it's already so much better. And we're like, okay, this is something that we're going to try to replicate for Legends, obviously, and continue to use going forward with the games.
That's really cool. That's like taking your game to the next level.
Yeah, and it was, it's I don't think that is something that Bob and I, to be honest, ever would have got to.
Right.
We're
absolutely.
What we got is working. We're going to continue to work it like this. We're not, I don't want to offend anyone, but computer nerds, and we're not going to be like, oh, let's make a plot map and this and that.
Yeah.
Okay. But wow, this is awesome. So
that's great.
That was really fun. That was the best part so far.
You know what that's like? It's Super Bowl Sunday right today, and it kind of brings me back to this whole football. Is you have your old school football guys that know the game really well, and it's really being blended in with analytics now and what we would call computer nerds. And the teams that do it right, the teams that are playing today, have really properly blended that ability, that intellectual ability to take all this data and really help streamline the process of the CrossFit, the football guys. You are the CrossFit guys, the we know CrossFit guys. There is a proper way to blend the two, and that's what that sounds like, what you guys have going on.
100%. It feels like what did I just watch recently a couple months ago? Moneyball.
Oh, yeah. That's where it all started.
It's kind of like that.
Yep.
It's right there. It's okay.
That's so cool.
That means you're Brad Pitt, though, and then Bosman is the
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. That's not nice.
So yeah,
you said it. You said it.
So we're never going to talk to Bob again, I guess. But now, I think last time we talked on air, I think you guys said you were going to have some say in the semifinal programming. Is this? And they're going to have a little bit more of an open and quarterfinal without getting anyone in trouble. The programming that's leading up to the games and this process that you're going through, is this all encompassing games, semis, quarters, open? Because if you have something that you truly want to run at the games, but it doesn't necessarily relate to what's going on prior to, could that ruin a plan that you have for a workout?
Yeah, it could. It doesn't. I mean, so we've already dealt with this, and so we programmed semifinals and games. We set up our initial drafts and went through a couple of revisions on both. We talked to Bosman on both, and like for instance, one of the workouts that we programmed in semifinals, we had to make some edits because it was basically a workout that they, very close to a workout that was in quarters.
Got it.
So we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Makes sense.
But
yeah.
For both semifinals and games, we programmed more workouts than was, that are going to be used.
Okay.
So just kind of to, work around those instances. But like, we know nothing about the open and quarters.
It's better.
We don't know
it's probably
what's
better
going
that
on.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. That's what I would prefer.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning of the talks, when we first started talking to Bosman last year in October, I want to say, they were like, oh, we'll give you some access to, what we're doing in open and quarterfinals. And I was kind of like, do we need to? Like, I'm totally fine with like, hey, we're going to send you some programming. You can be like, hey, don't use these. This is already being tested. Or, hey, we're doing something similar, a different way. And we'll just make some edits. Yeah, it's kind of unique programming almost backwards, right? Like the Masters games back to the open.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we would be used to, like Legends. Like we kind of program the championship and then we'll program the online qualifier to make sure that people are, going to be, what we can test.
Right.
Where now it's almost in reverse with the Masters games that like open the games. So it's you would think it'd be the same, but it's pretty different, and it's exciting. I like it,
So one question I have, and I'm sure there probably needs to be some clarity on this, with the announcement that there's going to be a team division at the games. Is this something that people are going to have to qualify for, or is this signing up like an open registration type? Like, because I know the pros have men, women, and then they have teams, and they really kind of have to qualify the same way, right? Like, open, quarterfinals, show up to semifinals, qualify for it, and be top whatever. What is your process going to be, considering everything is online, for the team division that you noted in the post?
So the teams are going to be an open registration, and you have to had competed in quarterfinals.
Got it.
So that just gives us, so the programming then for like the teams at the Masters games is going to be kind of based off of that. It's kind of like going to be a little bit hard. It's going to be harder than quarterfinals, but not quite kind of games athlete level.
Makes sense.
It's a community event, and we're calling it a community event because we want to provide more opportunities for the Masters community to be present and to, work out alongside the games athletes. We want to be very clear. You're not considered a games athlete. Whatever team wins isn't the fittest, games team in the world.
Got it.
It's a purely community event, and it's used to again, give more opportunity to people to compete, but it's also on the flip side, mainly get more people present, more eyeballs on the competition, and that's going to attract more sponsors. As far as revenue, it's not, if you looked at it purely on a revenue base of what the teams brought in and the impact they make on, us having to get more gear for them, us having to get more space for them, us having to do X, Y, and Z, is if you're a businessman, you'd be like, no, it's purely on these numbers, we're not doing it.
Right.
But it will attract more sponsors. And so that's kind of what we saw at Legends last year with the teams. We're like, it's a huge strain. But revenue, it doesn't make sense. We kind of a wash, but we're attracting more sponsors because we're a bigger event.
Right.
And so it's kind of used to give you guys an opportunity to compete as a team if you want to, alongside the games, be present, be active, and then us to be able to go to sponsor, be like, hey, we have nearly 700 Masters athletes in the same place at one time, and that's just the competitors.
So it's important for people to know that if they want to participate in this, they have to participate, register for quarterfinals. So if you are an athlete, top 25% this year, right? And you make quarterfinals, and you know you're not going to make it to the next stage. You know you're not going to make the games. Maybe there's a lot of people that know they won't make the semifinals. But you now registering and participating in quarterfinals, now it opens the door for you to travel to Birmingham, Alabama, and be at the CrossFit Games and participate in a competition. We know, and it needs to be known and said again, you're not the fittest team. This is not the CrossFit Games type team format. But you can compete down there with teammates only if you make and participate in quarterfinals. So I think that also opens the door to people really needing to get behind the quarterfinals, to get in there, get your name in there, and then who knows what can happen. Can you register with people from your own gym, other gyms around the world? What's up there?
Yeah, it can be any gym.
Awesome.
Create your own team worldwide. Doesn't have to be same affiliate.
Cool.
I don't think that where the Masters community is pretty big, but if you think about like how many gyms are going to have that many people qualify for quarters and down to travel, it'll get tough.
Yeah.
So it's anywhere, any super team you want to make, you can go for it.
Do you have information on what that registration will be like? Like, is it going to be a certain date, first come, first serve? Will there be any ranking that helps you or hurts you in the quarterfinals?
As of right now, the ranking won't be a factor.
Okay.
It's just going to be open registration. It will be after semifinals is completed.
Okay.
To give opportunity to the people that participate in semifinals and still want to opt to sign up for it as a team.
Right.
But we will make that date public, and that'll be through the Legends website directly, not through the games website.
Got it.
So that'd be through Legends, and it'll be much like the same website we use for Legends in the past. And we'll make sure that information is out there and very present so that people can be prepared for it.
What kind of broadcast capability will you be having or streaming for the games this year?
So we are looking at all the options. Last year we were thinking that maybe it won't be something that's super built out, super big, just because of lack of viewership that we've seen in the past. But Bob and I just really want to figure that out. We're like, why isn't this getting more views? And so we're in talks with Hamilton Road Productions, which has done our broadcast in the past and the games, and talks with smaller companies that do a much lower level of service, but still decent to good coverage. So it's going to, in the next couple of months, we'll figure out where that's going to land. But everything is on the list right now where, I think about 6 months ago, we kind of crossed off the super expensive, super high end, just because it'd be difficult to find a sponsor to fund that. So we began racking our brains on, okay, what if we don't need to rely on a sponsor to fund it? Where do we get the funds to make this happen? And we're pretty sure we found it. So we'll let you guys know. But we are working on that, which is super important for us. We want a high level broadcast, even if it doesn't get a ton of views, or even if the viewership doesn't match up, with the cost. We're like, okay, cool. Well, we don't need to expect a sponsor to pay for it now. So where do we get this money? And so that's where we're trying to get very creative on that.
Okay. So, in terms of like in the same, like same church, different pew, the support that you guys will have from CrossFit is great, right? Whether it's the scoring, Adrian and his team with the programming. When it comes to the support staff, like boots on the ground, people that show up to judge and help set up and clean up, I know that's a process that you guys have really cleaned up and improved on for your own sake in recent years at Legends Championship. Are you going to have judges from CrossFit, or is that on you to find? Is there some sort of maybe judge training system that if you ever want to be a games judge, you have to go do the masters and teens first to, kind of what you would call the minor leagues, really, in sport comparison, right? If you want to be a major league umpire, you start off in the minors or college, right? What's that support going to be like from CrossFit when it comes to actual physical personnel?
Yeah, so those talks now is what we're going to jump into the next couple of weeks. But before this, I can't say that. They've already told us that they are going to help us out. They are going to, you can register to participate at the Masters Games through the Games website, through their volunteer portal. We're going to have access to the email list of previous volunteers for the Games. We have our own list that we're working with. Even cooler, which I'm excited about, we've already had 2 local gym owners reach out and say like, hey, how can we help? What can we do? How many people do you want? Which is huge because we definitely want to have the local community involved. And if what's cool is like, if that happens, if we can get, local volunteers, local support, that's something we can count on year by year. And that could be a factor on us staying multi-years. So yeah, CrossFit is helping us out with organization, how to get the volunteers, access to email lists, and also some CrossFit staff as well. So they are an immense help.
Huge opportunity for the boxes down there. Huge. I hope anyone within a 45-minute drive of that venue views this as an opportunity. The amount of people that are going to be down there and need. I mean, the games athlete themselves, like they always like to train a few days, some of them prior to. Like I always go out a day early to Legends and I just kind of do a hotel wad. I mean, I would love to get to an actual box or even the spectators that come down. CrossFitters are going to come down and want to work out. It'd be a huge business opportunity and also at the same time, a huge opportunity to simply just help the greater community out. So I hope those guys down there take full advantage of that. Yeah. Was there a internal debate, because I know some people are unhappy about the fact that it is the same weekend as teens. And again, the first thing we talked about on this episode is there's a lot out of your control with where you do it. It's not like you guys have infinite amount of options with dates and locations. And I would assume this is part of what was out of your control. Was there communication with the guys that are running the teen side with CrossFit? Was there, I don't want to say any bad blood, but was there anything that like hesitation there?
I mean, we didn't want it. Yeah. Our original plan again was a week before, but Brock from the teenagers group, fully aware the entire time on the complication of what we were looking for in our dates. He was probably the first to know outside of Bob, me, and Jason. Well, CrossFit was made aware as well, Heather with CrossFit. And even in the beginning of us kind of planning on dates, this is something that we wanted to avoid. Someone threw an idea like maybe it is on the same weekend and make it a whole, festival thing all weekend. And the media will be huge for it as far as like social media presence. But we're like, no, we really don't want to step on their toes. So they've always been the teenagers on Labor Day weekend. Okay. So we're like, cool, we're going to avoid that.
Okay.
And then as we started going through these venues and availability, it just, it didn't work out this year. But this isn't something that we want to replicate. We'll see how it goes, right? Maybe it is a huge success for some reason, but it's definitely something that for next year, we are not going to want to replicate as of right now.
Okay.
So, and it kind of sucks. It kind of takes away from the teenagers or both, but maybe I don't know, maybe it's bigger for some reason. I've been surprised many times in running in our events. So
I will say this. I mean, from a Masters athlete, I don't think it matters. The only people I think it matters is, do you guys have to split resource help from CrossFit because you're at the same, like 2 different locations at the same time? Maybe there are a handful at the most coaches that are coaching athletes on both. But yeah. I mean, get an assistant coach. You got plenty of time, and I get it. Like that's But you can't make decisions on that. There's probably, I would bet there's 5 coaches worldwide that are coaching someone that will be at the Masters games and team games. And you're not going to make a decision on 5 people. You're just not. Now, the other side of that is the markets that are attracted to watching teens CrossFit, in my opinion, is not the same market that is going to be attracted to watching and paying attention to the Masters. I love CrossFit. I love CrossFit sport. I've never and probably will never watch a teen competition in my entire life unless I know someone that's there. And that's not a knock, just like them. I don't think there's going to be a bunch of 16-year-olds that want to watch me work out or a 58-year-old work out. No offense to them. It's different markets. So that's why I don't buy that that's a big deal.
I would just say as a casual viewer, it is nice if it was separate just because I might peek in on the 16-year-olds. I mean,
You still can, though, I feel like.
Well, if they're simulcast at the same time,
right.
I might watch the Masters versus the teens. But the teens are good because Donald Pepper, there were a fair number of, Mal O'Brien. These guys were all...
Emma Lawson.
Yeah, they were all teens. And so you might be like, oh, who's a rising star? Who at 16 might be killing it?
Right.
Then you could say later, oh, yeah, I remember when I saw them at 16.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that was just something that you couldn't avoid. From a sponsorship standpoint, Rogue is still participating as the equipment sponsor, you said, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
Jason Ainsley is the person that you work with in charge of partnerships and sponsors, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And that is probably one of the biggest challenges you have. I was at the CrossFit Health Summit last week, and there was a guy there who was one of the head of one of the big sponsors for the games. You always see for the open announcements, they always have their name up, and I won't say it, but he said we're sponsoring the CrossFit Games again, but we're not going to sponsor the Masters because, quote, there's no money in Masters competition. And I think that is a prevailing view that some people have. So how do you fight to overcome that when you're getting these sponsors to now not just maybe sponsor the games, but the individual and the team elite, but to kick in on the Masters side and have a presence there?
So it depends on what type of sponsor. From what I've seen and the data I've received back from sponsors on how much money they made, it depends on the type of sponsor. Now, is this a on-site, you're present, or is this a virtual, you're like kind of sponsoring the broadcast if they have one? So I would say is that now we have some ideas on how to change the broadcast to be more exciting to watch, because real quick on that, if you think about watching the same workout over and over and over and over and over, it does get kind of boring. So we're trying to figure out ideas on how to make that more exciting. Now with 3 fields of play, that does open up a lot of opportunities to catch different workouts from different groups, but you want to be fair and everyone get on air, so it becomes difficult. So I would say a sponsor that is, looking at numbers, looking at data on how many viewerships we've had in the past on the live stream, they're going to say like that you can't make money there. But I can say that very confidently that 9 out of 10 sponsors that are present at our event are going to make a lot of money. Depends on, it's because, again, the Masters community, they have the money, they want to spend it. A few that pop off, top of my head, First Form, obviously from Legends, Thick Boy Fitness, RX Smart Gear, they all crushed it, with our event.
That's awesome.
And, they already come back for Legends. Especially Thick Boy's been texting me, we've been talking this whole time. He's super pumped to come back to the Legends event because of just how much fun he had, with the Masters community, and he got a good ROI, which is important. So it depends on the company as well. Again, you have all Masters athletes. So if you're a company that is geared towards attracting younger people, you're probably not going to do that well at a older person event. So
yeah,
there are some sponsors that kind of don't make sense. So, it depends on also what are you selling kind of thing.
What about the elite athletes that are now in the Masters division? I know you talked about it on the Savon podcast, how the Matt Frasers of the world are not competing in the open. They're not competing in quarters. There are some that do, like Elijah Muhammad.
Sam Dancer.
Are you, this is a star-driven sport in some sense. And I know more people would want to watch them compete. Have you reached out to any of these athletes to see if they are going to be going through the Open, going through quarters, going to be competing on the Masters level? Because having more of them, I think, would certainly drive the metrics in a lot of instances.
It's a good question, because I have reached out to a couple and spoken personally with a couple. I won't say their names, but it's been 3 actually. And all 3, one's going to participate. The other 2, their body is feeling the impact that training and participating at the CrossFit Games for this long. They're starting to feel it hard. And, one of them, their knee is basically gone.
Yeah.
And doctor said, like, hey, if you keep going, you're not going to be able to walk, and you're going to have to get a full replacement, or you're going to have to go through this. The other one, family and career. It's like, you're not going to participate in the CrossFit Games fully. Maybe you have to run your affiliate or step in more. Your kids are getting to an age where they need you more. So I think it's a weird transition here it's a weird transition for the Games athlete to try to continue. Unless you have something set up like, and your body's still holding up, because I mean, you guys know, man, it's got to be super difficult to train for the Games and participate at the Games every single year for a decade plus.
Yeah.
So I do think that, though, with these changes, especially after we get through a year and they see what we can create, we will attract more of the people that are available and willing to do it. I think we're going to see a much bigger percentage next year of, former pros turning into the Masters participation.
Any thoughts on, I hope not, any thoughts of lowering an age group to, like, would there ever be a 30 to 34 Masters age group, or is that just no way?
No.
Yeah. You have to have gray hair before you want to be a Masters athlete.
No. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah.
No, I was never a Games athlete, but, at my peak when I was 30, 31, it's different. And,
yep.
I just don't, we're not going to make that change. I mean, unless CrossFit says, like, hey, we're doing it. We're like, all right, we're doing it. But, Bob and I were like, no, it won't happen at Legends ever. And hopefully, Kenny's not happening at Games, because I think 35 is the appropriate year to start your Masters career.
I don't want to go off too far on a tangent, but I am intrigued by this thought that just popped in my head based on what you just said. This whole 5-year gap, this 5-year window of athletes, that kind of just came out of nowhere, right? Like, do you think that's it? Or do you ever see, based on data you have, maybe CrossFit has some data as well, that 35 to 44 is the division, and then 45 to 54? Because to me,
gotcha.
Like, just making these age groups 10 years, like, yes, I'm 30, I think I'm 38. And do I feel a difference even 3 years ago? Yeah, but that might not be my age. It might be that I had a kid 3 years ago. It might be that I've experienced some other things that have impacted. I look at some of these guys in the 40-year-old division at Legends, and I'm like, bro, they're not that different than us in the 35 to 39-year-old group. And part of my thought there, because I do know this is going to come up, I was going to ask you at some point, you probably don't have an answer, about prize pool. What are guys and girls going to get paid if and when they win? Part of the issue of funding a prize pool is that there are so many divisions, and you could cut those divisions in half by making a 10-year age group. And I know the older people or the people that are on the brink are going to be upset, but you are well adept to, no matter what decision you make, someone's going to be unhappy. Has there ever been a discussion about that? Because the more I think about it, and trust, I'm 2 years away from the next age group. I personally can't wait, but I would take that on the chin and be like, it's probably a better move for the sport to have 10-year windows.
I don't think, I kind of disagree, because, what I've seen, especially in Legends now that we're 7 years in, and, before that, coaching Bob, to get to the Games and make it multi-years, everyone's excited for that kind of break year, call it, when you're 39, when you're 40, 44, when you're 49, and so on, where it's kind of like you pull back a little bit. Even if you do qualify, you're not going for it. You take care of your knee, you take care of your back, you take care of whatever, and then you come back the next year and it's like full force again.
Yeah.
So I like the 5-year gaps because of that. Now, you're talking about data as far as results in the workouts. There are some people that are just insane. Like at Legends last year, in one of the events, Jason Grubb took first, beat everybody, all the men.
Wow. And he's in the 45 plus. He's in the 40. He
smoked the 35-year-olds, smoked the 40-year-olds, and no one obviously in his age group that went above. We're like, oh my God.
Credit
so I think that, but like that number of people that can kind of hang with someone 9 years younger,
right,
is I think it's pretty small. This is sparking my interest into dive into some results on like how many could actually hang and possibly podium. But I do think that the 5-year age group, for people continually participating in the sport, for the growth of the sport, for people participating in online qualifiers, the open, quarters, and semis, I think the 5-year gap is the way to go. Yep. If you look beyond the results at the competition,
I agree with that. There are a lot of people here that like can't wait.
I can't wait
to get to the next age group, and like it being a couple years away versus 8 is a big difference, and it keeps people in the game.
Yeah.
So another thing I would want to ask about Birmingham, back to the actual games, because I want to keep that conversation on the games. The weather down there. That's one thing I've seen in the comments, people commenting on. Do you want an opportunity just to give, a decision-making process about Birmingham? Is it hot? Is it humid? I mean, we're in New Jersey. I know it doesn't have the hot reputation, but it gets pretty nasty in here, like humidity-wise, August and September, where we are. And people are asking, well, how could you put the oldest, most vulnerable people in
They're not vulnerable. That's so ridiculous.
Top 1% of health in the world.
Yeah.
That's ageist.
Can you tell us everything's inside, outside? It's a mix. Don't want to go there yet.
Yeah, I can tell you that when we were choosing a location, we said, if we're going outside of California, we are going to find a venue that can allow us to stay 100% inside.
Okay.
If you think about it, if you go outside California, it's kind of nasty everywhere.
Right. Especially that time of year.
Even like not even all of California. You go like to Northern California and up there, it can get pretty gross. So we found a venue that we can do everything inside. Now, I saw that in the comments, and we were expecting it, much like what CrossFit dealt with when they announced the Fort Worth Games. And but Jason, and get back to the Jason Grubb again, he was chiming in on giving like data on how Birmingham is, historically 87 to, like 81 to 87 degrees on average. And, but, the South does have that, history of being super hot and super humid, super sticky. So, if it's not too hot and it's just humid, cool, we can deal with that. We can do something outside. We can test it appropriate for that. Bob mentioned it on a previous podcast, and how, we have found that Birmingham has a lot of cool trails, a lot of cool small open water venues, a lot of cool stuff that is built out for events.
Cool.
So there's an opportunity there on possibly mixing that in. So as of right now, we have found a facility that can allow us to be 100% inside.
Great.
But we may change that like we always do. We're not going to the ocean. We won't go to the ocean, but getting 440 people down to the Gulf would be probably out of the budget this year.
Yeah.
So
this year.
We can't say you're probably not swimming in the ocean.
Okay. All right. Sticking with taking care of the athletes, right? Do you have anything you want to announce? Are there plans in place? Do you have people trying to take care of this in terms of athlete care? I think you guys have done, in my 4 years of competing at Legends, this has gotten, in my opinion, has gotten better every year. So I could tell you guys are paying attention to it. is there a next step, a next level for making sure there's enough medical care, enough recovery tools and sponsors for your athletes? Because, again, I don't want to say Legends was a lower level than the games, but there's just more eyeballs and more critique of athletes, especially that are going to be spending a lot of money traveling from Europe and Australia and South America. I know you guys have had a few, but you're going to have more international athletes. Is there any thought, planning, or anything you want to announce in terms of what you're going to be doing to take care of athletes down there?
Yeah, so taking care of athletes, one is, let's talk about warm-up area. Legends, it's always difficult to get a giant warm-up area. Just to like have it to the cost, the space. It was tight last year. But as far as, even if you took out the rig, some people may not know, but there was like a rig that kind of split. Even with that taken out, that was the biggest warm-up area we've ever had at Legends. And so, and that's going to get fixed even next year. We're actually taking up the entire space. But for the games, we are basically planning to make a full competition floor a warm-up area.
Wow.
So we're talking,
that's huge,
like 20,000 square feet.
Wow.
It's going to be big. And that's what we want. At the CrossFit Games in Madison, when you walk into this huge hall, you had 2 rigs on either side. Then basically it mirrored throughout into the center. It was a weightlifting area. You had machines. So we definitely want to treat it the same way. We want the space. We want the people to be able to spread out, have barbells available, have rope climbs and rings and whatever we have, sandbags, whatever we're going to be using, have that available for them in the warm-up area. As far as athlete care, that kind of dives into sponsorship a little bit. So we are talking with a couple of groups on the PT side. We're talking to some groups, and also then on the medical side, there's opportunity for a few groups to be able to step in as a sponsor even and take care of the athletes at the games level, what they also get at the games. So, and we're actually getting help from CrossFit on that as well. But yeah, it'll be a huge step up from even Legends.
Wow. Yeah. 20,000 square feet is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'm super pumped on that.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's what I want to see.
That's a big deal. Spectators, we want to get people to go there. I'm going to try to get some people from here, from Bison, to go down.
Are you going? Are you competing?
Am I competing?
Are you going to the games?
I would bet against it, but I'm trying this year. Open quarterfinals, semifinals.
If you don't make it, are you going to go?
I would like to. I have a boss named Ashley that I have to run that by.
Oh, don't use that excuse. Come on. Ash is like, oh, be quiet, David.
But I would love to, and I would love to bring Brock down too. I think I'm just like already thinking about that in my head. But yeah, if it's within the budget, so yeah, I will over 50% commit to being there.
Over 50.
That's a good husband answer, isn't it? Is there anything? Will you go? Maybe HerdFit Podcast should go.
Dude, I'm a busy man.
Yeah,
I would like. We'll see. I would like to try.
He's got a boss named Susan, so he's got to see.
Dude, Susan would be like, he gets to do whatever he wants. He is one lucky dude. That's what she would say, and I would agree with that 1,000%.
If you let me stay in your 5-star hotel room. All right. So anyway, Spectator experience. Is there anything you are working on? Do you want to share about that? Like, you go down to these CrossFit competitions to watch, but are there things that you can do to improve their experience? Vendors, food, all this stuff.
Yeah. So, what's super cool and exciting, technically we can't announce the apparel sponsor for the games, Masters games yet, but I can tell you, I have received some requests for them to help out, source locally down there, some really cool activations.
Will Tom Brady be there? Just tell us if Tom Brady will be there. I'm just kidding.
TB12,
the noble guy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. It's all right.
But some really cool, unique activations that, like, actually I just saw at Waterpalooza. There was, one is a barber. They want like a hairstylist and a barber there.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. Is, temporary henna art tattoos and stuff like that we've I'd never even thought of to have at an event. So I'm curious to see what the rest of the vendors kind of come up with. because that's always fun, is when the vendors have exciting stuff to do and draw people to their booth. And from what I've seen, that is the way to increase their sales. And so it's going to be on the Spectator side. It's going to be a lot of fun to be there. Like I'm looking into, because we know that kids are going to be present, looking into renting arcade games and having a whole setup on that. Cool. Stuff so that people can enjoy being there and have some fun. Yeah. Win some free stuff, some raffles and all that stuff.
And want to go back and everything. And I've always thought it's a really cool opportunity to meet CrossFit people too. Just like if you want to call them famous. But I remember just last year seeing Savan at Legends, seeing Greg Glassman, seeing Castro. Like, you go to these events, you can really run into these people and rub elbows with people that you would never rub elbows with. And I am assuming CrossFit will be sending some of their head honchos down there just for support, A, but B, to be with the community and be wrapped up. And I think that's really one of the cool things about going to these. Like I remember when Castro was at Legends this year, like everyone's always here. You go get a selfie, you talk with them. Like, that's a really cool opportunity, cool environment to meet them. And you want to give them a reason to come back the next year and watch the next crop of athletes. So I think the biggest message I want to get out to anyone that's watching, after Joe just gave us pretty much an hour of his time on a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, really appreciate about that, is we've talked about this multiple times, getting behind Legends, getting behind Masters sport in general. It's always going to come from the people. It's not going to come from big TV contracts. It's going to come from, if you guys want to simplify this, if you own a gym, go to a gym, get involved in the open, get involved in quarterfinals. Don't be one of the people that makes quarterfinals, does the workouts, but does not sign up and register. I don't know what the success rate. I think I remember hearing it was like under 5% of people that make quarterfinals actually register. And now we have a bigger crop of athletes, 25%. I want there to be over 15% of those people signed up and registered. Like, I want that to be the minimum. And if you guys, whether you think you're going to compete at the games or not one year, whether you know people that are competing at the games or not, if you care about the people that are in it, and there's so much effort. I mean, I'm sure there's things I don't even know about with Joe and Bob, about how much effort and your staff, what you guys go through on a year-to-year basis. This is not a 2-week ramp-up. This is a full-time, full-blown effort that if you support that idea and want to help them out, you got to sign up for the quarterfinals. You got to participate it. Guys, money runs everything. It does. It's always going to run everything, and we need the money to come in from that quarterfinal. So I hope everyone watching this not only participates, but also registers and puts their money where their mouth is. Joe, is there anything else you want to say as we wrap this up in regard to what the community can expect of you and anything else that we might have missed out on?
Yeah, I mean, you can continue to expect, Bob and I, and also Jason, to continue to push the envelope on what we're providing. We will improve year by year. Mm-hmm. We're already, CrossFit has already seen that. And, we're already in talks for us running 2025 as well. So if it's not perfect, well, one, it never will be perfect. We will never please everybody, but we will continue to provide a better experience, more opportunity, awesome workouts. Pretty much everyone that goes to Legends has almost my phone number, I feel like now. So, have access.
You might need a bat phone.
In my Instagram, I barely post CrossFit stuff, and I got people, sliding into those DMs as well. But it's important because that has what I feel like that's a big part of what has built the trust in our community, as far as with me and Bob, is like being able to we know the guys that run Legends, but we're there where we chat all the time on this. They can ask me questions. I'll let you guys know everything possible, always, as long as it's, legally able to be said. We barely hold secrets besides workouts.
Yep.
We barely hold secrets, and there's just no need to. We're open and honest. You can always expect that from us, and that we are going to continue to provide the best experience possible for the competitors and the spectators, but also and the sponsors. We want to make sure that is how you build a well-rounded, successful event for the Masters. It's difficult, obviously, and we've talked about this a lot. So we will continue to bust our ass to make sure that this gets better every single year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Fully trust in you guys with that task, and I could speak from athlete perspective. It got better every year, and you guys never settle, and I think that's what athletes want. Don't ever settle. Don't ever get comfortable. Keep trying to provide the best experience, and I can definitely stand behind that and let everyone know that is exactly what you guys do.
Yeah, I mean, if we ever settle, I wouldn't want to do this anymore.
Yep.
So,
yep, I agree.
We get to that point, that's when we retire.
All right. Who's going to win the Super Bowl tonight?
I don't know. Chiefs. I don't like either team.
Yeah.
I'm from San Diego, but I'm also like a remote Green Bay fan.
Okay.
So I'm just like, it's going to be on TV. I'm going to say I'm not going to watch it.
Yep.
I'm going to get drawn in, but I think the Chiefs.
You just want to watch some Taylor Swift action tonight. I got it.
Yeah. Oh, God. That whole thing.
Oh, my God.
All right. Well,
now it's going to be all over my Instagram.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much for your time, Joe. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll get you on between now and the games, just get a little check-in update and if you ever want to share anything new with us.
100%, guys. Thank you guys so much. Always a pleasure to jump on and chat with friends on the Masters community and anything else.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Cool. See you guys.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the Herd Fit podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.